So I believe, John, we have on the line Lauren Silver, Jamaican national team. How you doing, Lauren?
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
Good. I just want to let our listeners know that you are calling all the way from United Kingdom tonight. So really, thank you for staying up till like wee hours in the morning over in the UK.
No problem. I'm glad to be on the show.
So I'm sure you're a little bit amped up. And Jamaican national team, you guys played a game against Nottingham Forest women's team today, and you guys won by a score, I think, 3-0 today.
That's correct. Yeah, it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. We had like 4,000 fans in the stadium, so it was really great for the girls and I.
And I'm sure you're not as exhausted because the last game you guys played, you had to go extra time in PKs. And, I mean, I'm sure that game itself, when you guys beat Panama in PKs to go to the World Cup, is just a lot of mental exhaustion goes into that. Just going through that whole PKs thing, it just heart must be beating through your chest.
Definitely. I mean, that game in itself was like, I think, mentally exhausting, but the whole tournament was a mental game. You know, it's like a strategy. Like the whole 5 games into the CONCACAF, you have to like mentally be like switched on the whole time. So for us to then end with that really intense, ending was like the last bit I think we had left.
Now, when you win a game like that, I feel like even in the play, you're going off adrenaline. You've played a 90-minute game. You're playing an extra 30 minutes. Like, how do your legs and body feel when you're playing deep into a game like that? Is the World Cup's on the line there?
Well, I mean, in that game, I was actually personally taken off the field after 75 minutes, after playing like throughout the whole tournament, and we used all 20 players, and we needed all 20 players because of that reason. There was a lot of fatigue, physically, mental fatigue, and I think in that game we really used our subs to the best of our ability, and it really worked out for us.
The fact that you said using all 20 players, I mean, that's a stat that I just totally didn't even see when I was doing my research today on the team. And, I mean, that goes to show you that it's a true team effort. When you see some of these countries, you might only have like maybe 14, 15 players ever just play. And then you feel like there are players that are brought on these rosters just to kind of, you're the backup, you're this, you're not really probably even going to play at all. But, I mean, to have 20 players touch the field, I mean, that's the true, team. So when you guys are celebrating it, like, everybody contributed.
Yeah, I mean, we actually had 21 players there because we had one reserve player just in case. And, like, even the 21st player who never touched the field was, like, a huge part to the team as well. So it's just, like you said, there's so much more to the game. It's a physical game, but it's also mental. It's psychological. It takes a tax and a toll on every aspect of, like, the human being. So having, like, the morale be the way that needs to be, and then people to physically, step up and do their job and play their role is like huge in a tournament like that.
Now, just by, qualifying, you guys are the first Caribbean nation qualify for the Women's World Cup. And what's the praise been like back in Jamaica? I mean, what are the messages and support you're receiving from family?
It's been wild. Our Caribbean Cup final before we went to CONCACAF in Texas was hosted in Jamaica. So women's football in Jamaica, it's kind of secondary to men in a lot of other Caribbean cultures as well. Also in a lot of, all over the world, but in some places you wouldn't really expect football to be kind of seen that way for women. But when we played in Jamaica, I think that was the first time that Jamaica had the opportunity to really not just see, like, the reggae girls playing, in Jamaica, but to really understand that women have a place, like, even outside of Jamaica in football. So the support there was huge. And then after that, when we did go to CONCACAF, like, that support kind of followed us all the way through, which was, like, amazing to see grow. And then now that we're here in England, like, there's a huge, huge Jamaican population here that showed up to the game. Like, there was 4,000 people at the game today, and the majority of them were Jamaican. And it's just so crazy to see how, we're Jamaican, but honestly, the culture is so international. Like everybody is everywhere. So, like, we have had this support kind of just hit us in waves, I think, as we keep playing, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll have some of that support carry on over to France. France is an easy hop over, and it's going to be a very interesting World Cup, with that coming up. And I'm sure that you've had to, change how you mentally are going to prepare and physically, what your plans are now. I think what some of the plans moving forward with the Jamaican national team. You guys are over in England now. You're going to play any more games there? What's some of the stuff we can look forward to seeing?
Yeah, so we're only playing one game here, which we played against Nottingham today. But what's awesome is we brought in new players. So I think us qualifying has allowed us the opportunity to see some new players, hopefully create a bigger pool to make our team that much more competitive. So this was an opportunity to bring in new faces, which was amazing. The other thing is right now we're in discussion about what the new year, like what our World Cup new year, like camp schedule is going to look like. And once they set that, we'll have a really good idea of what that's going to look like. But I already know that we created a Reggae Girls Foundation for just the women's team, and that's part in helping allocate money just so that our senior team is able to run these camps up to the World Cup. So we'll definitely have a bunch of camps, bring in new faces. I also, there's a lot of talk about fundraising and creating just more opportunities for players to play, and then, hopefully running some friendlies, which, we might have a game against Brazil. This is like, this is so far hearsay, but that would be amazing. But just creating some friendlies so that we can, play against some really high-level teams and, get new faces in there, get old faces in there, and get better.
I think the upside of the Jamaica, it is a country that's, and even with you being based in Florida, you have the temperature and conditions to prepare. You look at the World Cup coming up, that the World Cup is in the summer, but it is very cold weather and hard to prepare for a summer World Cup when you don't have those summer kind of conditions and you're restricted on your field play. So I guess that does give you guys that advantage of being a nation that always stays warm.
Yeah, and what's awesome, too, is obviously we're going to be preparing. We might end up coming back to England potentially for a longer camp, which would be amazing because then, if we're here in May and then we go there, to France in June, we've had kind of like a feel of, what the weather might be like. So that's a huge point because honestly, we have girls from all over. We have girls from Canada, we have girls from the United States, and then we also have girls from Jamaica. So those three things, and the U.S. is huge. So you'll see parts of players who come from, Connecticut and it snows. And then you have girls like me who are from Florida and, it doesn't get under 85 degrees. So coming to England, I think, will be great for us if we do get the opportunity to train here before France.
So you spent a lot of your life in the U.S. Soccer system, playing in youth development programs. Like, when did it become realistic? Hey, I can play for Jamaica, and I saw that that you had a grandparent from Jamaica. Now, how did that all go down with you joining the Jamaican national team?
Yeah, so when I was a youth, like before I went to college, they had reached out to me, and I was talking to them about it. But at the time, I was so caught up with, like, I played ODP, I played high school soccer, I played club soccer. Like, my life was like soccer. It was just so much. And I was really focused on getting to college and playing. And that, at that time, was a bit of a struggle for me as well. So I was really focused on that. And then once I got to college and I kind of, got my bearings, it wasn't until, like, the end of my junior year into my senior year that I actually even considered playing because I didn't even know if I was going to be, I didn't even know if I was going to play professionally. Some players, like, they're raised and they're like little, like, soccer junkies, and they're like, oh, like, I want to be a professional soccer player. Like, when I was younger, like, I wanted to go to college and go to medical school. I didn't even think I was going to play soccer in college. So, like, everything kind of just, like, my life kind of evolved the way that it was supposed to, and I ended up going to U.S. and having a great soccer career there. And then when I got there, I was like, okay, like, I could play pro. So when that became, an option for me, then I had got in contact with Jamaica and, kind of came out here. And I was actually in the last World Cup cycle when we tried to qualify 4 years ago. So that was my first experience ever with them, was with the senior team.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've learned a lot in those 4 years and matured as being, mentally stronger to withstand, the situation in CONCACAF. You lose the semifinal match, that you have to put that, loss in the rearview mirror and realize, okay, we win in the third place match, we're in.
Right. Definitely.
So what has that, been like just for the team? Let's walk through that night you guys win. What did you do personally? Like, make any phone calls? Like, what was that? Like, just finding, hey, we qualified for the World Cup first time in our country. It's history.
It was so crazy. Even talking about it now gives me chills because I think there was only me and one other player who were in the last cycle. And so for me, when we lost, especially because the last cycle, Canada was already through. So they already qualified for the World Cup because it was in Canada.
Yeah.
So CONCACAF now, like that third spot looked really juicy. Like we were like, we could definitely get this, and we lost the opportunity then. So coming into this one, like it was kind of just like ready to. I was just kind of ready to like seize the moment and be like, okay, like what can we do here? And after like going to the third place game, like we had some confidence because we were doing pretty well in the tournament for the most part. But like I said, like our country is small. We need a lot of resources. We don't have a lot of things. We barely had any time to train with each other. So, like, in every single game, we're trying to learn something new to bring into these games. So that final game was, like, that last piece that we kind of needed as we're kind of evolving from each of the 5 games into this final game. And then getting to that one, it's just, I think for me, it's just a mentality. It's just, like, you need to have a winner's mentality. You need to go into it. And, like, we're not leaving the field unless we win. And that's what we did.
Now, we've seen the growth of the Women's World Cup get bigger and bigger every year. That it's on, every channel, every game's being live broadcast, and has it really sunk in yet that you're a part of history, that, you helped the team qualify for the Women's World Cup? And, I mean, that's the highest stage for any footballer in the world.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I know for the girls, we're not really going to see or reap these benefits until way later. Like, it's just, we're in the middle of everything, so it feels cool. Like after the game, we were all like dancing and celebrating and singing, and and then like we went home and it was kind of like, all right, like we did that. But for me, it's like the amount of impact that we're going to make, like you were saying, like in Jamaica in general, like just some of the changes that are going to happen are insane. Really inspiring like young girls in Jamaica to be like, look what we did, you can do this too, and opening avenues for them to now have this opportunity to play with a team like this. So that's going to be huge, but also just like in general, we've completely, I think, opened a whole nother realm for women's football. Like we're the first Caribbean team ever to qualify for the World Cup. That just goes to show how football always is. It's just constantly evolving. It's constantly growing, and everybody has to keep up with it, and teams are constantly getting better. And I think that goes to show how women's football is also elevating over time.
Yeah, and like you said, you'd never imagine that you would do this for a career or play in college, and you've had a couple different professional contracts, and I'm sure that's going to be an inspiration for young girls that, hey, I can go to college, I can get a degree, and I can go play pro, and if not, I've still got a college degree, because that's something you will always have from the University of Florida. You'll have that degree to always fall back on.
Definitely.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I know you guys have got some more training ahead of you, and definitely want to keep in contact, and anything we can do here at the radio show, we'll do our best, and just let us know that we can definitely promote anything you guys got going on with trying to fundraise and, get equipment, find facilities. We're definitely just an email or text away.
That's awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on the show. It's been literally like a pleasure talking to you guys.
No problem, Lauren. We'll talk to you very soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was Lauren Silver, midfielder for the Jamaican women's national team. I mean,
thank you for watching a World Sports Show production. For more info, go to worldsportsshow.com.